Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. I am live from Vegas. The crowd goes wild. Okay, I'm just pretending you guys are. But if you are going crazy for me, I really super appreciate it. It is so ridiculously early here. Good morning, Adina. Thank you for coming. It is 7 a.m. here on the West Coast time. I don't think I could do this lifestyle. I think I like my East Coast time. But and don't mind. I might have like some of those eye boogers still from like waking up. I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning to prep for the show, but I love doing it. So it is a labor of love. Yes, it is. And let me tell you, I'm having a great time here in Vegas. I will say, and I'm going to talk about money scripts coming up, that it is a little, again, not necessarily against, but counter to a lot of my beliefs. And I'm going to go into those money scripts in a little bit. And also where you can find your money scripts as well. As you come to the broadcast, please say hi, introduce yourself, also where you are viewing from. I love hearing from you guys, and please definitely join in the chat, the conversation. I love a lively debate, so if you want to debate things, go right ahead. I'm not at home with my big trading setup, so screen space is limited. So I'm going to do the best I can to stay on top of the chat here. So again, I'm live from Vegas. I was here for the money show, and guess what? I had so many people come and watch me speak about things to think about before you start investing, but also questions to ask your financial advisor to break the ice. I had so many women in the audience. I had guys too. I even had a gentleman that was there that was taking notes for his wife. So yay to him. Good job. Good job. And I also want to thank Duet NYC. This is a new line out of New York City. It's a fashion line from my dear friend Diane Patan. She's created this sustainable clothing line. I'm actually wearing this shirt right now. It's so comfy, it's breathable, and I'm loving the pants. And I'm super tall and they fit me great. But what I want to say is they're like sort of like Lululemon meets like J. Crew, right? Super duper comfortable, super professional. I love them. I don't want to take the pants off. So I'm doing a shout out to Diane. So thank you so much for outfitting me. So when you see on social media, all those outfits, on the planes and whatnot, those are all Duets. So yay, Diane. I'm so proud of her. She's like another rock star woman. And I love to promote and support other fempreneurs, right? For sure. I'm going to try to keep today pretty quick because I have a plane to catch, and that would be United or UAL. And remember, as I mentioned, different stocks and ETFs, grab your identifying investment sheet, start putting them on there, start investigating these companies, start watching the news, seeing how the stock moves, so you can start looking for opportunities to start investing in stocks that you believe in. And we're actually going to talk a little bit about stocks you believe in and putting your money where your mouth is a little bit later as I talk about. I'm not going to tell you, but yeah, I have a fun one today for sure. Another thing people have been asking about is, where do you see previous episodes of Her Investing Coffee Talk? Well, you can see the previous episodes on my website, and here I'm going to put the link here. So I reference a lot of like topics and lessons that I do in various episodes. They're all on my website under the show page. And I also have a summary of what I cover during those shows. So if there's different things that you want to learn about, you can go to those different episodes and watch. There's like 9 episodes on there. Yeah. And people are saying that they even binge watch me, which is amazing. And thank you so much if you are one of those binge watchers. But let me introduce myself. I'm silly me. I'm so rude. I'm Jessica Perrone, the founder of Her Financial IQ. I am also your show host here for Her Investing Coffee Talk. And I basically left finance 3 years ago to be a stay-at-home mom. And I could not believe the anxiety and the stress that came from my fellow moms, I should say fella moms, right? we could put a feminine spin on that. My Fema moms, and just like talking about investing or money conversations, like you'd see the stress and anxiety and like the rosacea come up the neck as soon as they started to talk about it. So I realized there was a real need out there for education. So yes, I'm an educator. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not making any recommendations on stocks. Any securities or ETFs that you hear me talk about here today are for education purposes only, and I want you to go out and start researching them and make and understand the steps it takes to start thinking about investing. So if you do want to take your journey outside the coffee talks, I do offer all sorts of events and classes out there. I'm doing workshops. I am doing podcasts. Yes, I'm going to be a host on a couple podcasts coming up. And I have my classes. If you want to stay on top of my offerings, whether they be paid or free, join my mailing list so you can stay on top of all the events, workshops, podcasts, and even show that is coming up. So definitely join my mailing list. Let's see, I'm moving on here, and let's get started. And if you have not downloaded the identifying investment worksheet, I'm going to post my link tree here. It does have a link to all of my classes and a lot of offerings that are going on. So definitely check that out and download the worksheet so that you can follow along as well. Good morning, Kendra. Thank you so much for joining. I really super appreciate it. It is so good to see you. Okay, so as I mentioned in the beginning of the broadcast, I am here in the city of sin for the Money Show. And I only left the hotel once, but let me tell you, I really enjoy people watching on the strip. I really do. And there are so many colorful characters. Like, that's a gentle way of saying really strange people, but I get a kick out of them. And I love like watching them, and I like giggle as I walk down. But you'll see anything from like a Vegas impersonator in like one of those little like mobile wheelchairs to like, people just like dancing on the street to like those little dressed up girls and the pasties. Though I like wanted to like hand my business card to every single one of them saying, here, let me help you. Get your monies together so you don't have to do this for very long. Yes, I want to like help all the women here. And so if you know any women in the Vegas area that would like to get their financial ducks in a row, definitely have them join us for sure. So, but what's really conflicted though is that there's so many aspects of what is Vegas that conflict with my own personal money scripts. Okay, so I've been learning about money scripts, and I've been learning about it from the Money Talks, that is the program that we're doing in the city of Pittsburgh. And Tamika, who is amazing, started off our sessions with one on Money Talk specifically. So what are money scripts? So money scripts are your unconscious beliefs about money, often rooted in childhood, that affect your adult behaviors and perspectives. Okay, and I am going to put the link to the money, the quiz here, so that you can take it and see what your money script is. So, as many of you guys can guess, my personal money script is most certainly money vigilance. Okay, so people in the money vigilance category frequently evaluate their own spending and saving to ensure they are making wise decisions. Okay, wise decisions. $8 coffee. Yeah, here in the Paris, $8 coffee. This. I'm not joking. This right here, $8. No joke. Yeah. But it was, I needed it though. Return on investment, energy for show. Yeah, I do that. Anything I buy, I think of in terms of return on investment, whether it is health-wise, whether it's energy-wise, whether it's happiness-wise. Yeah, it's not even a Starbucks. No, it's not. It's like it's Pete's. It's Pete's coffee. But yeah, you're right, Adina. It's not even a Starbucks. But I needed it. 3 o'clock in the morning. I needed my coffee for sure. Okay, so yeah, money script. My money script does not necessarily, agree with that. Overpriced meals. I'm the person that preps Sunday meals, Sunday veggies and everything, so I can make my rice bowls for a week. Overpriced meals. Gambling. So, but funny enough, I had a dear friend of mine who last night said to me, he was like, Jessica, just go out. Just go out and just go enjoy yourself. So I did a little splurge. I have to admit, I did a little splurge. I went through my money vigilance money script and I did a little splurge, and I went to Nobu, and it was really, really yummy. And I'm so glad I did. I felt fancy for the night. So every once in a while, it's okay to splurge on yourself. I just have to get past that like money vigilance. And and especially like I was thinking about gambling in general, and I was thinking about like, it can be fun, right? If your financial ducks are in a row, right? If your financial ducks are in a row. So like, for example, if you have bad debt, if you have credit card debt, maybe going out and gambling isn't the best idea. But if you have your financial ducks in a row, and if that's something that brings you joy, definitely, I believe in that balance, that balance of, treating yourself, but also living fiscally correct. Fiscally, oh my goodness, I can't talk. It's so early. So excuse me. Okay. But so what I do want to say is like, as inflation and prices are going up, I bet a bunch of you are probably thinking about rebalancing your budget, right? Especially if you recently saved up for a trip. And I'm on a trip for all intents and purposes. It is a business trip, and I have been working really hard on this trip. But at the same time, you might find, especially on your trips, that food prices are a lot higher than you expected. I know I have seen like the food prices on my trips like crazy. It's crazy, the food prices. So what I did was, I'm going to start a new segment on the show that has to do with money saving tips. And this week I'm going to do travel themed money saving tips, right? So that, we can think about ways to save money on vacation. So one of my favorite tips is my water bottle. I love my water bottle. It's actually Nalgene. But I love my water bottle. It's lightweight. I put in my purse when I get on the other side of security. I fill it up at the water fountain, so I'm not paying. Oh, wait, how much are those bottles of water in the airport now? $4 or $5? Yeah. And you need to stay hydrated when you're traveling, especially when you go to places like the desert or on an airplane. You definitely want to stay hydrated. So your water bottle is definitely a way that you can save money. Excuse me, not spend money, save money. Okay, there we go. But another thing that people don't realize is that you can actually bring food to the airport. As long as it's not a liquid, you can bring it through security. So what I do is I recycle and keep to-go containers, right, from like to-go meals. I keep those, and then what I'll do is I will take some leftovers and I'll put them in there on the plane. Or if I'm traveling with the kids, I'll make like to-go lunches. I'll make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'll put fruit in there. Yeah, you can even like throw clementines in your bag, whatever. And you can have like little healthy, and save money, right? And let me tell you, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are the best on an airplane. I don't know why, but peanut butter and jelly, I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on airplanes. Yeah, bizarre. Another one of those things that you are learning about Jessica Perrone that you might not want to know about. Hey, but maybe that's part of the money script that I have, right? Oldest of 8 children, that peanut butter, it went fast. Let me tell you, it went fast. Even like nowadays, I don't share my butter. Like I go to a restaurant, I'm like, can I please have my own butter? I went out for a girlfriend's birthday party recently, and I had to have my own butter. Yes. One of the things that happens when you are the oldest of eight children with limited food and resources, things that stay with you. Yeah. Money vigilance. That's me all the way. Okay. So like even, so we're talking about packing food on the plane, but even in hotel rooms. So when my kids were younger and I traveled with them, frequently what I would do is I would have the hotel put a refrigerator, an extra refrigerator, empty refrigerator in the room for me so that I did not have to eat out for breakfast. I went to CVS, I got milk, I got fruit, I got cereal, I got yogurts. And the first meal of the day, and with three kids, you really, I didn't want to go out to eat, right? I didn't even want to leave the hotel room until it was pool time, for sure. But you can definitely put together breakfast meals for less expensive by that little trick. Now, I have a student. Her name is Francesca. She's my sister from another mother, and she's really similar to me. She's been going through all of my classes, and she actually gave me a airfare savings tip, and that is that typically airfare is cheaper on Tuesdays. Who knew, right? And I haven't had a chance to test this out yet, but typically, if you book on Tuesdays, you will get the best price. Isn't that interesting? So that is a tip from Francesca. Thank you so much for that tip. She has so many tips, actually money saving tips. I'm working with her to like have some content for my program. So keep an eye out for her and her money saving tips as they come out. So, okay. So going back to Vegas and my water bottle. Okay. So my water bottle worked on the airplane, and last trip to Vegas, it worked here in Vegas too. But guess what? They got smart to my strategy here at the hotel. And I went down yesterday morning to fill up my water bottle at the bar, and they're like, "Oh no, we got to charge you $1 per glass of water." And I went, "Really?" I was like, "Ah." There goes that strategy. So you know what I ended up doing? I ended up going down to CVS. I ended up getting a 6-pack of water, which was $4 for 6 of them, right? As opposed to $1 for a little glass of water, right? And that's how I saved some money there as well. Plus, I love to drink water. I drink so much water. I just chug it. So I love to have lots of water on hand. And walking to CVS, of course, I saw all of these colorful people. And guess what I smelled in the air, which brings us to, it brings us to the topic of the day. Mary Jane was pungent in the air. And let me tell you, it's new to me. This whole concept of smelling marijuana on the street, cannabis, Mary Jane, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what people call it nowadays. What do people call it nowadays? Put it in the chat if there's any slang that I need to be like hip to. But like I almost felt like I needed a gas mask, not to breathe in the secondhand smoke, because it's literally everywhere. The smell is everywhere on the street. Now, I know that today when I'm talking about this, I'm touching on a controversial subject. And as you know, when you are investing, I definitely encourage you to put your money and your investing dollars where you believe you can do the best good. That's also where we have ESG investing that comes to play, right? Putting your money where you think you can do the best. Now, for example, just me personally, I personally could not invest in, Juul or e-cigarettes or tobacco or vaping stocks. Personally, I could not do that, right? So when I'm talking about these different topics, it's important for you to do that internal temperature check about, is this something I want to invest in, and what are the repercussions of me investing in this topic? Okay. So and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there was a really nice lady who approached me at the Money Show yesterday, and she said, "You know what? There are some implications of the legalization of marijuana and cannabis. There are implications. So I'm just bringing this up that when you are investing, when you are putting your monies in investments, it's sometimes important to do that internal temperature check and say, is this something I believe in? Is this something I want to be promoting? So thank you so much to that lovely lady who brought that up. And I do want to say that even the Wall Street Journal, and I got this out of the Wall Street Journal, it was published on April 21st, said that the risk marijuana can pose to people, even pets, near users, right? So they're talking about secondhand smoke, actually. And it's saying that it is getting more attention from researchers as consumption rises along with legalization efforts in parts of North America. And then it goes on to say that marijuana use among college-age adults increased 6 percentage points from 2015 to 2020, according to a survey conducted by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, part of the National Institute of Health. Living in a state that legalized recreational marijuana was associated with the increased use in the past year and past month among groups including Hispanic people, non-Hispanic white people, and non-Hispanic white people, according to a study in the JAMA Network Open. So, again, with that said, do your own research and also a personal inner temperature check if these types of investments align, or any investment align with your own moral philosophy. Yes, your own moral philosophy. Okay, so moving on. What's interesting is that in the United States, so let's go through some more facts here. So in the United States, the use of cannabis for medical purposes is legal in 37 states. Yes, it is legal in 37 states. And in 18 states have legalized adult use for marijuana for recreational purposes and medical uses as well. So what I learned yesterday is that there's actually 2 classifications. So there's the states that have legalized it for medical use, and then ones that have legalized it for recreational use. And typically what happens is that the states will legalize it for medical use and then move forward to legalize for recreational use as well. And what was interesting is that even before I got to Vegas, I noticed a billboard right outside Newark that says the laws have changed, right? Your criminal record can change as well. And I thought that was interesting and a sign, but a bump of the times, right? And the changing of laws. So yeah, I guess, expunging things from your criminal record, especially as laws change, will definitely help you financially as well. So let's move on here. So the cannabis market is expected to grow to $61 billion by 2026. And this is according to BDSA. And BDSA is the leading provider of market research solutions for the global cannabinoid, yes, industry, yes. And more than double the 29 billion in sales in 2021. And they're saying that the majority of the growth is expected to come from the US and Canadian markets as consumer access improves, among legalized states. And then they're also talking about the positive momentum abroad as well, like in Mexico and European markets such as the UK and Germany. So with that said, in general, I was looking at the cannabis ETFs, and a lot of them have been struggling, it seems like, yes, and hovering towards all-time lows, right? I was reading, there was a new ETF that was launched by Round Hill Investments. It's called Weed ETF, right? Yeah, WEED ETF. And they actually had some really interesting disclaimers in their perspective about potential risk of investing in cannabis, and I thought they were really interesting, and I wanted to share this with you. Kendra put in the word pot. Yeah, they called it pot back when I was, a baby dinosaur. I'm an old dinosaur now, but when I was a baby dinosaur, they called it pot too. Come on, I need some younger terms. Hey Katrina, maybe you could help me out with that. What are some other terms, right, that they call it? I'm sure being in the medical industry, you hear it referred to many things. Okay, so companies. So I'm going back to the perspective from Roundhill Investments, and they were saying that investing risk associated with the cannabis industry has to do with, the industry itself, and then other, macros that are also upon it. So the first part is the industry, what type of risk this industry faces. And the first one is that there's a lot of competition in it. So they're saying that it's intense competition. They also say that cannabis industry companies also have limited access to the service of banks. And that is actually because that federally, right, there's regulation against cannabis industries, right? So with that said, a lot of banks follow federal regulations. So that's why they find it hard to have bank services. So that was interesting. That's something I learned today. And then some have substantial burdens due to litigation, being sued. And then they were also talking about, the heavy dependence on receiving necessary permits and authorization to engage in medical cannabis research or to otherwise cultivate, possess, or distribute cannabis. So that can be a little bit risky. And then it goes on to say, and this is what we were talking about before, and it's which is the federal aspect of it. And it says, since the cultivation, possession, and distribution of cannabis can be illegal under United States federal law, under certain circumstances, federally regulated banking institutions may be unwilling to make financial services available to growers and sellers of cannabis. So yeah, those are some industry-specific risks associated to the cannabis industry and cannabis stocks. But there's also, broader risks that are associated with it. And these are really neat. I really enjoyed these ones. So listen up. So, and it says cannabis-related companies are subject to risks associated with, and one was just the overall agriculture industry, right? So they are going to have the same risks as the overall agricultural industries. And these types of these types of industries have risk due to different types of trends, such as commodity prices, labor costs. We've been talking about labor costs a lot. Weather conditions, right? We talked about weather conditions recently in another chat here. And then also laws and regulations related to environmental protection, health, and safety, right? And so these are overall agricultural risks associated with that industry. And I thought that was really interesting and well said. And then there was another aspect, that there's a parallel to, and it says cannabis-related companies may also be subject to the risks associated with biotechnology and pharmaceutical industries, right? So we're talking about medicinal marijuana, right? Keyword medicinal. So it would only make sense that there would be similar pharmaceutical industry risks as well. And so these risks include governmental regulations, the use and enforcement of intellectual property rights and patents, technological change, product liability lawsuits, and the risk that research and development may not necessarily lead to commercially successful products, right? So wow, I really enjoy this perspective, Roundhill. So thank you so much for putting out all this research. And what I would also like to talk about is ETFs in general. So I was looking at some of the stocks that are in the Roundhill Investments ETF. And I have to admit, I started looking at them and I admitted to myself, I'm like, you know what? I don't know anything about the individual stocks in the cannabis industry. I don't. I admit that to myself. And there's a lot of industries that I don't know a lot about the stocks and the companies in that industry. But with all of those industries that I do not know a lot about, I do not know the industry leaders, I don't know the trends on that industry, I do like to look at industry ETFs. Okay, I do. And I'm actually going to go through a couple cannabis ETFs that Seeking Alpha mentioned as well. But what I do want to just reiterate here, and I talk a lot about ETFs in my show, is that as with the industries I'm interested in, but don't know the players in, I do like to look at ETFs. But all investment vehicles have risk. Okay, all investment vehicles have risk, but some are more riskier than others. Okay, so I just wanted to preface this really quickly before going into the cannabis ETFs. Okay, so keep in mind, industry-specific ETFs, like these cannabis ETFs, are not diversified like an index ETF. Okay, because they are focused on a specific industry. Now, it is less risky than picking one cannabis stock, right? And putting all your money in one basket, right? Instead, you are diversifying over various cannabis companies in an ETF, right? And it is typically managed as well. So the management company is looking at all these stocks. They're seeing which ones are the best performing, and they're staying on top of the trends for you. Okay, but it is still riskier than an index ETF. Okay, so an index ETF would be like SPY that follows the makeup of the S&P 500, or in other words, 500 companies, right? 500 companies across different sectors. So of course, an ETF like SPY would be less risky, right, than a cannabis specific ETF. So when we think about the order of riskiness, right, when it comes to different, just when you're thinking about risk, and we all do, again, our own internal temperature checks. And even at the Money Show, I was talking about risk assessment, assessing your own personal risk and how much risk you are willing to take on. How much can you see the stock market go down and not feel anxiety? How much can you see an individual stock go down and not feel anxiety? So remember, the riskier the stock, the more reward, right? But you can still find different vehicles and assets and stocks that aren't as risky as others. But for all purpose sakes, right, if we look at one cannabis stock, that it would be like risky, right? A basket of cannabis stocks, less risky, right? And then a basket of stocks across all sectors, a lot less risky, right? So if you're thinking about in terms of risk, that's something to start thinking about, right? When you're thinking about your own internal risk assessment. Okay, so moving on, excuse me here. Seeking Alpha had done a list of cannabis ETFs out there, and some of the ones that they have brought up are the ETF MG Alternative Harvest ETF. That ticker is MJ. I think it's suiting for Mary Jane. Advisor Shares Pure US Cannabis ETF. That's MSOS. Global X Cannabis ETF. That is POTX. and then Cannabis ETF, that is THCX. And then we have Advisor Shares Pure Cannabis ETFs, that's YOLO, YOLO. And then we have Amplify Seymour Cannabis ETF, and that's CNBS. And lastly, we have Cambria Cannabis ETF, and that ticker is TOKE, TOKE. I get giggles out of these. I do. I really do. Now, just to say, I didn't look into the individual ETFs. I didn't have time to do that today. As with anything, do your own research, look into them, and look at some of my previous broadcasts about, what to look at when you're looking at these different types of ETFs. So I cannot believe I've already talked for 35 minutes. But what I did want to do here is, let me just go through here. So yesterday we had fresh inflation data, and it's really been worrying the street. And everybody's talking about April's consumer price index, that's CPI, and it rose 8.3%, exceeding economists' consensus, and really not showing much slowdown from the 8.5% in March. And really what that means, and a lot of the street is saying, is that the Federal Reserve is likely to maintain its pace of boosting interest rates to try to bring down inflation, okay? And another headline that we're seeing from overnight due to because of this inflation and seeing crypto, yes, I'm seeing some crypto headlines come out, such as, and these are kind of crazy, these headlines. It's Bitcoin wipes out 2021 gains. And last week you heard me talking a little bit about the riskiness of, cryptocurrencies and what type of internal risk that is the type of person that can take on the risk of the cryptocurrencies. But yeah, that's kind of scary to see a headline like that. You're also seeing headlines like crypto volatility. But basically what this all comes down to is that Bitcoin hasn't proved to be an inflation hedge, as some people have been saying. And so what is an inflation hedge, right? So according to Investopedia, an inflation hedge is an investment that is considered to protect the decreased purchasing power of a currency that results from the loss of value due to rising prices, either macroeconomically or due to inflation. It typically involves investing in an asset that is expected to maintain or increase its value over a specified period of time. Yes, so that is what an inflation hedge is. And so, for example, if you see, like last night, Bitcoin dropped as much as 10% overnight, this morning or overnight, depending on where you are geographically, before recovering. And that's why they're saying that maybe this is not the inflation hedge that people were saying, because people were saying that this may be the new gold, right? I had heard and seen research arguments that it could be like the millennials version of gold. But I also, we've been talking a lot about defensive stocks, right? And I saw an interesting quote actually out of Mona Monahan, and she's the senior investment strategist over at Edward Jones. And she did say that these defensive stocks that we've been talking about could be inflation hedges. And she says, when you think about where this is a bit more pricing power, consumers will have to purchase their staples, their health care, and probably pay their utility bills regardless of price increases. So, she's saying that defensive stocks are most likely, a parallel to inflation, or can be considered an inflation hedge. And then Seeking Alpha on 5-9 also talked about some more defensive stocks that we really haven't talked about that much. They were talking about Newell Brands as a additional defensive stock. That ticker is NWL. Clorox. I use Clorox on everything. Yes, I do. Like cleaning everything. I'm a Clorox person. I am also the brand name Clorox. Like, I don't think I could really go to any generic of Clorox. I don't think so. Let me know what you guys think. Could you do the generic of Clorox? You tell me what you think. I'm really intrigued about that, actually. Okay, so they also talk about United Rentals, that's URI, and Whirlpool, that is WHR. So as with everything, I really love to close with an inspiration quote. And my inspiration quote today is by Oprah Winfrey. I love that girl. Love you, girl. She is so positive and so uplifting. It is surround yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher. Yes, surround yourself only with people who are going to lift you higher. That's by Oprah Winfrey. And I am really amazed at the community we are building of women that are committed to financial health and wealth growing and financial knowledge. And I am amazed at how this community is lifting each other up. Yes, lifting each other up, inspiring each other, lifting each other up. And I am so proud of all of you. And I wish you a bright financial future. You may be overwhelmed with getting your financial ducks in a row, but it's baby steps. You can do it. Yes, you can. You can change your tomorrow. You can change your financial tomorrow. And should you wish to take your investing journey outside the coffee talks, come see me in my panels, my workshops, my courses. And I'm putting together a self-directed course as we speak, so keep an eye out for that. Sign up for my mailing list so that you can be on top of all the courses, workshops, panels, and podcasts that I'll be appearing on. I'm Jessica Perrone, founder of Her Financial IQ. You've been watching the Her Investing Coffee Talk. May the markets be in your favor. Bye now. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for watching. For everyone watching the recording, thank you so much. Yay! Signing out. Bye now.